All right, welcome everyone. This is a Viper Professional Training and Support webinar. Today's date is November 4th, 2019. This is a Monday night webinar, and the title of tonight's webinar is Looking Left to Trade the Right. And as everyone knows that's been to our webinars or our live trading room, everything that we say and do at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, forex trading, any kind of financial instruments trading involves risk. Therefore, there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that is money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar, other webinars we have, our live trading room, or anything else with Viper Trading Systems should ever be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. Any questions on the disclaimer? All right, if not, we're going to get started. First off, let me show you a little JPEG here that I think you'll really want to memorize, and you don't have to, take a picture of it or anything, because it'll be in this webinar and it'll be posted on the webinar link and also on our members area, of course. Okay, but keep in mind that at least the way we trade Viper and everything, drawing on your charts is super critical. I could even add super to that because it is very, very critical. If you want to really learn how to see what the markets are doing, you've got to learn to see the left side of the chart in relation to the right side. But then you've also got to see that there are 3 trends and possibly even 4 on your chart. So there are those looking to the left to trade the right on all 3 of those. Okay, so it's important to know those, and we're going to talk about that in detail tonight. But first off, on your charts, you want to draw either, for instance, are there lower highs and higher lows? Well, you want to draw a wedge. Use the little ellipses to, highlight areas that you see, these swings and things. Use your boxes, use your lines, use your trend lines, use arrows up and down if you want to, and even draw channels. Determine if you are trending or chopping with horizontal lines and trend lines. And you must know what the minor trend, the secondary trend, the medium trend, and the longer term trend are. And we're going to go over those tonight in pretty good detail. Okay. And just remember again that there are more than one trend on your chart, and that's what we're trading. We're looking at these, mainly the 3 trends, and trading in the direction of the trend, but there are times that we'll go against it too. Okay. You need to obviously know what the trend is on the left and right of the chart. And what I mean by that, I'm going to show in just a few minutes. Okay, because you think, well, left and right of the chart, what do you mean? Well, we're going to talk about that. All right, be sure to draw trend lines, horizontal lines, wedges, and boxes, just like we talked about up here. And use your trend bands for continued trends. Okay, if it's stair-stepping in the upward direction, to give an example, you probably want to be careful taking shorts. Okay. Now, if you miss a thrust, we either wait for the retrace, or we take minor lightning breakouts, or even minor lightning pullbacks, as far as that goes too, with tight stops. Okay, use lightning 1 or 2 as your minor breakouts and retraces. Use lightning 3 as your medium trend, and watch for breakout and retrace. And of course, we use Object Trader to take these trades. Okay, let me go to the next slide, so to speak, here real quick. There are 3 trends on your chart. Okay, one of them is lightning 1, and it's really fast. It's just simply a 4-range chart, and they zigzag as they're, for instance, this is a nice uptrend, right? It did pull back a little bit, but it basically held support, just barely took it out and took off again. Okay, notice on the lightning 2, though, it's a little bit more forgiving. It's got a little bit more swings to it. And then lightning 3, of course, is your longer term trend. Okay, and we're going to talk about those all 3 on these charts. But remember, when you're actually, for instance, let's say that you saw this price was right here and it pulls back and it takes this out and it comes back and kisses right on top of that swing. Wouldn't that be a good area to actually jump into a trade? We're going to talk about that, looking left to trade the right tonight. Let's see, give the chart a story. Absolutely. All right, so let's take this one down. And we'll go to, well, we won't go over the Phantom tonight as much. We'll go over Phantom, but not as much tonight. All right. Here's another one that I want you to be familiar with. There are at least 4 trends on your charts. We watch those 4 trends and trade the retrace trade on the first 3. We watch the bands for direction. We scalp and hold runners in the direction of the trend. Sorry about that. Let me get back to the next one. For some reason that flipped over. That's just a disclaimer. Bear with me a second. There we go. All right. We also scalp aggressively with tight stops as we see opportunity. We buy and sell kiss trades of support and resistance. We watch for trades around the mid band and the money band area. We're going to talk about that tonight. And then we watch for deeper retrace trades in the direction of the prevailing trend. Those are mostly called deep retracements or phantoms, and we'll go over those. We watch the chart for identified lightning. We're going to go over what identified lightning actually is. And we recommend trading the equity open with extreme caution. Okay, because the equity open, if you were trading oil, to give an example, and you jump in a trade on Russell, and you might be up a couple $100, and then all of a sudden you're back to 10. You got to really watch that instrument. It's pretty fast. Okay, we have terminology in our room such as midband, phantom, rollover, breaking up, box it in, bias and no bias, runner, scalp target, and a few more things. But these are really important ones to learn right here. Okay, and you'll want to learn those. All right, so this, like I say, once you get the recording of this, you can go ahead and stop the, the playback of it and even take a picture of it or whatever you want to do. Let's go to, and I'm going to take some lines off this chart before you see it. All right. Now, I know this is going to be very basic, but what's the direction of the trend on the right side of the chart right now? It's obviously to the up direction, isn't it? Higher lows, higher highs. Okay. Now, one thing about larger trends, okay, if you look to the left to trade the right, you'll notice that you have a thrust, a retrace, and a thrust. You have a retrace, and you barely take this out. Now, I like to look for at least 10 ticks, and that is 10 ticks. So in a case like that, this is an identified swing on what we call the larger trend. So if it does take it out, and you want to trade Lightning 2 to give an example, you could have shorted this way up here if you wanted to. Okay, because this is a trend in itself also. Okay, but your overall trend is still to the upside. So what I do when I see something like this is, a lot of times when they're really doing these nice thrust, retrace thrusts, they're going to break these swings by a good 30 ticks or so. See how that one broke it by almost, well, say 40-ish, right? What is that, 44? Right in that area, isn't it? Let's see. 44 ticks, 90 to 33, yeah. So you broke this thing by like 44 ticks. So this one only broke it by 10. Okay, so I consider this to be my secondary swing, and this is my primary swing, but it's also an uptrend until it takes this out, in my personal opinion. Okay, and I watch a lot of charts, so, for instance, your phantom will probably be down in this area. We'll look at the actual chart in a minute. Okay, now does that mean you can't take this trade when you start breaking lightning and you want to box it in up here, way up here, even though the background's green and everything? That's called scalping, and you can definitely do that. We're not going to be talking about that as much tonight as looking to the left to trade the right. Okay? Now, does anybody have any questions thus far? Because I don't want to go so fast that people don't understand this, because the whole idea of trading is to understand it and be ready to take the trade. All right, so let's look at the actual chart and see what's going on. Bear with me a second. I'll get oil up here. All right, here's oil so far. Now, oil actually has a red background, so you would think that this would probably go down. But again, like I say, I like to see these moves like this, where you get a good thrust, a retrace, and hopefully even another thrust, right? Which it did, but that was at the open of the market last night. and this is pretty much where it was, okay? And it took this out a little bit, so it is actually heading down somewhat, but you've also got to be careful of the fact that even though you get a red background and everything, this is actually just doing more than likely some kind of retracement. So until you start really stair-stepping down, be careful with taking, shorts against this. Doesn't mean that you can't, though, okay? Because on a case like this, I would be looking for this trade more than likely to kind of kiss in this area right in here and roll over and take a short, okay? But if it didn't work out, I might be ready to take it long if it happened to bust above that mid-band and take off, okay? So those are important things to look for, all right? And like I say, even when we traded oil this morning, remember when oil retraced 38% this morning, I called it out in the room, even though the chart was red, that it was still just a good retracement and that oil was probably going to take off. And it did, and we got that trade. Okay, so it could be the same thing here. Now, you do have some tools on here that you can actually use to take the trade. And of course, right now, we would definitely be looking for a short trade because of the red background. But if they did take out this swing right here, we would probably be looking for long. And why do I say that? Because so far, you've had a thrust down after the market opened last night. You had a retrace right up to here. And then you had a little bit lower low here, and this is an identified swing when we talk about these micro swings. Okay, everybody remember when I was talking about micro this morning? Because micro is really important to your trading as much as the Lightning 3, which is your larger trend. Okay, because for instance, if they were to break this and decide to head up, you could easily decide that you probably wanted to take this. So I like to look both ways on a chart when I get ready to trade. I'm thinking, this could easily break on down, so it would have to come up and kiss at least under this line or at the line, and I'd be looking for, a little bit more to the downside. Okay, so I'll turn that arrow red. But I'm also conscious of the fact that this is still pretty much an uptrend on the left side of the chart, that I would be looking very possibly for it to break up and pull back and kiss, and very possibly could be an uptrend. Okay, so you got to be ready to trade both ways. And then if it did something like that, I'd be looking for this. So this is kind of what we're looking for right now. Okay, so if this does come up, and let's say, for instance, that they decide to kiss this area where Lightning 3 was, okay, that would just be just barely above mid-band. If they were to tag that and decide to take it on over, I would box this in right here for a short because I'm looking to the left to trade the right. Okay, but I'm also, if it doesn't go ahead and take out these lows, then it could possibly go in your face too, because the overall trend is still to the upside. At least Lightning 4 is, which is, this trend here. Now keep in mind that it still broke this trend over here to the left. So technically, it could still be either way. Okay, everybody see that? Let's see, at 56.12, can you say why you wouldn't take the long yellow dot? 56.12. You're talking about, oh, you mean if it took this out at 56.12? Kurt, on your question? At 1336, that was over here, right? Right before the market closed? Oh, you're talking about right here. Would you take this trade long? Yes, I would. Did this trade work out for, a good trade, or was it just pretty much a, in your face type trade? Now, one thing I want to show you tonight too is that if you look for a certain type of movement on markets, as a rule, you're going to find that they don't just go straight down, retrace. In other words, what I'm saying is they'll usually do something like this. They'll come down a little bit, they'll retrace a little bit, and they'll do more of like an ABC type move. And if they don't do that, you got to be real careful with trades, because see, this is like an A, a B, And see, all that did was bounce off of here. But would I have taken this long if I happened to have, you know, seen my computer and I saw this support? Yeah. Yeah, and that was good for 10 ticks. But let me show you how you trade it too, though. All right, let's say you were watching for this. You saw this high, this low, this high. So, and let's get rid of all the lines for just a minute. Okay, so you have support right here, right? So when that comes down and kisses that, would you take that long? Yes, I would. Okay, but remember though, that what you always want to do is, try to get your 10 ticks, if at all possible, because if you do it with like a couple of contracts, then you can't get burned on the trade, even if it does decide to go lower, because you would stop out. Okay, so let's say, for instance, that you took it on that bar close to the upside. Let's just say you took it on that bar. All right, was that 10 ticks? I would think that it might have hit 10 ticks. Let's see, 18 to 27, not quite. You might have gotten 8 or so, but you could always take one off of it. Always take green if you want to. Now, if you actually got filled a little quicker, like if you had your line drawn and you simply took the trade within a couple of ticks of when it bounced, then you could have possibly gotten 10 ticks. But you guessed correctly. Yeah, that's definitely what I consider to be a mid-band trade. Okay. Now, one thing you got to watch out for though is watch the amount of thrusts and retraces that a market does, because they don't just continually give these great mid-band trades without going deeper on the retracements too. Okay, and you usually like to get an ABC type move and then box it in. Okay, like this one here, for instance, ABC, you box it in, you might have gotten 10 ticks. All right, this is a perfect phantom down here, by the way. We'll talk about that phantom just a little bit, because this is a trade you heard me call a couple of times today on different instruments. This is a classic trade that we look for between 2 and 1, and we'll go over that. Okay, so let's look at this and see. We decided we've got support, or pardon me, resistance right there that was support. They've checked it. We've got support right over here that's resistance now. So I'd be looking for a trade more than likely to the short side with this background and everything right in this little sweet spot. Okay, see, I'm looking to the left to trade the right. Now it's already checked this one. Notice this. All right, see, it's already checked that one. So if this does decide to go up, and we don't want to just take like a quick rollover to give an example, we'd like for it to come up a little higher like this and see if we could go, into the trade. But keep in mind, if this was to break this swing right here, you could literally also go long too. Okay, because this is a low, this is a high, and this is a lower low. So if they did take this out and decided to pop it on up, I would probably jump on it. Okay. All right, looking to the left to trade the right. Let's see. Sebastian says, is there a coincidence that the last retracement came plus 4 ticks to the third last high because it didn't retrace the level before? Well, one thing about like a shallow retracement to begin with, you've got to be fairly careful of, obviously, because for instance, like right here, let's say that you are a real tight boxer. Let's just show a loser. All right, let's say you saw this happening in real time. All right, so you draw a line at support, looking to left to trade the right. They can't take this out if they're going to continue to the upside. Okay, so they can't go any lower than this if they're going to continue up. All right, so let's say that you box this in. You said, you know what, this looks like a pretty good trade to me, on a mid-band trade, so let's just take it. You're in. Okay, that bar turns right back around and goes into that box. You can get out of that trade. Now, you don't have to, but I'd highly recommend getting out before it takes that out. Okay, and you'll lose some money on it if you do, because, see, for instance, let's say you got wicked in this trade and you're up 2 ticks, then you're down at least a tick, and then the next bar you're down again. Okay, so that could easily come into a pretty good loser pretty quick if you're not careful. Okay, another thing that you can always do is don't go into such a tight one unless it's really a good support. See, this wasn't a good support area. Now, if it came down here and that was a mid-band and I could box it, then that I would consider to be a good trade, because that is a good support level. Okay, but this right here, could they just be faking you in? Well, predictor's saying it's coming all the way down to here by the price action that's going on right now. And lo and behold, it came close to it anyway. Okay, so here's where you want to be careful. You're either going to jump in this trade, when it breaks this little box, and put your stop all the way under here, and then do a hope trade or a pray trade. And if it doesn't take out 55, stick with it. And it didn't, but you definitely felt some heat on that trade. Okay. Now, if I'm up for the morning, let's say, for instance, that I'd already gotten this trade, and I was up, and I thought, I'm going to trust this swing. And let's say that I got in at mid-band, and it just turned out it wasn't the right place to do it. You can put your stop under here. But I would not do that on my first trade of the day, because, for instance, on this trade, you get filled, you're filled at like 70, and then they go all the way back down to 59. That's an 11 tick, hit, which is not that bad on one contract. But if you do it with 4, that's $440. Okay. So, the one thing you want to be careful of is, not jump into a bunch of contracts until you know where a trade's going. See, at the time, for instance, on here, see your high, your low, your lower high, your lower low. This is your lightning swing right here. Let me show it to you. Draw it. Okay. So when this did this, did that actually take out that swing? No. That was just a lower high. And then they came on down a little bit further, and then they broke up. Okay. Could you see that this was stair-stepping? This was not an identified swing. This only took this out by a little bit, so that's not your identified swing. Your identified swing's all the way over here. Okay? And when you see that, that doesn't mean you're going to take a trade if it takes this out, because this may be too close to the top. Let's say that it didn't do this, and it did this instead, like that, and then it went up through here and took out 76. Well, more than likely, you could get 80 or possibly this 90 up here, or 89 or whatever that is right there. I can't read it. You see what I mean? But it didn't do that. It just kept stair-stepping down. And that's the whole beauty of what we call lightning identified. Lightning identified is very critical. Let me show you the little picture that I had out just a few minutes ago. Bear with me 1 second, and I'm going to pause the screen for just a minute. And let me find my desktop pictures here real quick. All right, just 1 second. Okay, let's talk about identified swings for a minute, because this is really, really important to your trading. Because the reason they fake so many people out is because people fall for not identified swings. And if they haven't identified a swing, you got to be really, really careful. Okay, let's go over some identified swings. Let's go to draw. We'll draw on our chart. Use a yellow and maybe not quite that large of a pen. That looks about right. All right. When you get an identified swing, it's really important that it is truly identified. What I mean by that is, let's just start down here. Okay. This is a low, this is a high, this is only a higher low because it takes out that swing with the close of a bar. Okay. And I like to get at least a close of a bar plus a couple of ticks as a rule. Okay. Because this swing is not identified until they take out the swing on the left. Okay. Same thing here. Is this swing identified yet until it takes this one out? And the answer is no. Okay. Because this could have easily done this, come up here and then headed down a little bit more and held this one and then headed up again. So your identified swing would have been here instead at that time instead of here. It only becomes identified when they take out the previous. This swing right here, for instance, sorry about that, I didn't quite get it. That's not what I really consider identified, because that's probably a wick. So in that case, I would lag back 1 if I was in this trade. because that's not identified yet until you get a higher low, and then they take it out, and then this one becomes identified. This one becomes identified when it takes out this swing with at least the close of a bar, and that's barely identified. See? So I lag back one. Okay? This one's very much identified, so this becomes an identified swing once it takes out this swing here. When they take it out by at least, a bar or a bar and a half or something like that on your Lightning 1, you're pretty much identified. Okay? When did this one become identified? When it took out this swing. And you can clearly see it took it out by a good, 4 or 5 ticks, 6 ticks. So always remember, identified swings will keep you in a trade, because let's say that you got in, let's say that you boxed this in down here. Let's just say this was a mid-band trade, and you boxed this in, and this happened to be your little region trade that you took. So you thrust up, you retrace, you thrust up, identified swing. Pull back, barely thrust up, identified swing still down here. Okay, thrust up again, identified swing becomes here. So you just keep stair-stepping your stop when it identifies those swings. Now, it's harder to tell on 4-range charts than it is on the Lightning 2. Lightning 2 is actually requires at least 2 bars to go up, not just one. Lightning 1 can literally just be the zigzag on your chart. Okay, because all it's looking at is the bars themselves. Okay, it has to have a full bar and a full bar back to make a swing, but these are still minor. Now look at this one over here. Let's say that you got filled somewhere down in here. Let's say you were in this trade, and it thrusts up and it pulls back. It didn't take you out. It thrusts up. There's your identified swing. Notice that it pulls back all the way to it, but still gave you a higher low. Pops up, identified swing, pulls back, not identified until it takes out this swing, and now it's identified when it took out that swing. And see, you just keep bringing your stop underneath those swings. Let's see, why do they stair step lower like that, then continue back up? Well, Pat, on your question there, what they actually do, just like on this is actually one that I just kind of hand drew a chart that I actually looked at that day, and I just had to do Lightning 1, 2, and 3. So I did Lightning 1 in the middle. But Lightning 1, for instance, see, if you looked over here, let's say that you saw this happening, and this is a little retrace, a little double top. There's your identified swing right there. And see, they barely took it out. They probably wicked it. See that little wick hanging down? And then they took off. So is this a good area to box in a trade? And the answer is yes. Okay, and that's what we teach all the time, is a thrust and a pullback. Extremely important for the pullback. This is it right here, by the way. See, when this, let's say that you weren't in here, but you were waiting on a pullback. Well, this came back, it held support, so could you box this in? Something like that, and then take that trade? Well, it's hindsight, of course, right now, but we do this every day in the room on real charts. Okay, because that's what we're looking at, is those pullbacks. So using the Lightning 2 for entries is something that we can get used to, or just as a reference when you're in a trade. Well, Kurt, on your question, I like Lightning 2 myself quite a bit. Lightning 1 can give you, unless you train your eye to really see them, and you got to kind of put in your mind, where do you want the swing to be identified? Do you want it to be a full bar above, 6 ticks above, or, 5 ticks above, or what? So that's where that comes in. Okay, but when you're trading, let's say, for instance, that you did your trade here, and you see it come up to this resistance area, and you take some coin off the table, and then you ride your runner. That runner would still be in, wouldn't it? Your stop would be right down here. Yeah, 2 is more reliable, Pat. I think so too, because if you don't have 2 bars, you're basically just drawing the zigzag on your chart. I'll show that on the real chart. Let's just look at it. Yeah, see, here's Lightning 1 right here. All right, let's go on over here to where the chart is. All right, now looking at the trend, now keep in mind on a Sunday afternoon, you probably wouldn't have wanted to trade this until it at least started stair-stepping down. Could you have boxed this in obviously right now it's in hindsight, but could you have boxed that in for a short? See how that popped out of that box and kissed it? That's what I like to look for, is a break and a kiss. Now, we're not talking about, against a long chart, because you probably would have waited for a little bit with just this market barely opening. Okay. This was a little bit later here, like around 10 minutes after or so, that you could have boxed this. Let's see, algos don't recheck identified swings a second time. Well, a lot of times they do. Let's just play this out, and let's just see what happened here, and y'all tell me when you want to take a trade. We're not going to use Object Trader just yet. We got our box drawn. This is barely identified right here, because see, they barely took out that swing. Okay, when that happens, a lot of times they will go ahead and either go ahead and break down. That was a little lower high there, but see, they're holding that bottom. Let's see what they do. We're retrace traders. Okay, now that's getting actually more like where I would be looking for a retrace trade, wouldn't you? Okay, so let's look to the left to trade the right and see if we can draw this thing. All right, we're going to draw our line again, 99 and 12. Okay, everybody see that? Lightning swing. I'll draw lightning 3 so you can see it. Well, actually with my eye, I see it more like this than what lightning drew. I see this. Like that. And then like that. Isn't that what y'all see too? Now lightning, the way it draws though, it draws from a green to a yellow. And let's see why that didn't draw. Let me look here. Green to yellow. Oh, because it didn't have another green. That's why. Okay. Got it. Because lightning 3 likes to draw from green to yellow to green to yellow. If there's a green, then yellow, it'll draw straight down. Okay. All right, so let's see if we can get a trade. We've got our lines drawn on our chart. And we are looking to the left to trade the right. So let's see where this little pup goes. Tell me when you trigger the trade, everyone. That's in our box. What do you think? What says the team? I'll tell you how I would take this trade if I was going to trade this trade. I would put my stop at just right above 12 if this bar rolls back through mid-band. So let's see if it works out or not. Watch me get hit on my first trade. Can happen. Okay, we're in. Stops right there. See, we get 10 ticks. So let it play. Didn't quite come up to 12. Probably should have waited till 12. Is it going to get us? 12. Perfect. All right. We're still in it. We're not out of the trade. We got in right there on that bar at 07. And that didn't stop us because that's actually a wicked bar. So then I put my stop just above the wick. And are we going to get a 10 tick or not? You were in at about 07-ish. And you got stopped out. Okay, so what did that get to? That was about 7-8 ticks trade. Could you have stopped out right here? And the answer is yes. Okay, so when you get in a trade, and for instance, let's say that you get in, and notice that I've called this exactly though, at 12. That's one thing you got to really start looking at on your charts, because they can fake you if you're not careful, like with just a mid-band trade. Okay, so did this trade actually work out? Like if you got in at 7 and it came down to 98, not quite, because it wasn't 10 ticks. But look at your lightning and how could you get out of this trade? Let's say that you got in on this bar that went below mid-band. Let's see, was it that one? Yeah, it was that one. So actually you got in at like 04. So this trade only went to 98. So you had 6 ticks in it. So could you have gotten out of the trade when it took out 04 or 5? Yes. So that would have been a scratch trade. Are you only looking for identified swings in the direction of trade after the? Yes. Richard, on your question. Yeah. Now see, like this right here, for instance. See how this popped up and pulled back and kissed right on top of that support? That's more than likely a trend change. Why do we say that, by the way? Because it took out Lightning 3. Draw it on your chart and you'll see it. Whoop, not Lightning 1, Lightning 3. See how you have a low, a high, a higher low? Is that identified lightning? Yes, it took it out. So when it comes back and kisses that, could you take this trade long? Let's just try it. Maybe we might be getting in late. We'll see. We'll do Object Trader. Let's say I just got up in the morning and I'm going to take that trade if that bar closes up. Yeah, we got a tool for that, by the way. Bar close long. Put our stop just underneath that swing. We already know where we're going to stop, right? Okay, so bring our stop just under the swing, exit on close, and we're in the trade. Okay, everybody see what I did there? Now, this was a little phantom trade. We didn't get a chance to take it, but one of the reasons that I didn't want to take it is because it took out this Lightning 3 swing. Okay. Now, let's talk about looking left to trade the right some more. And by the way, when you start getting some profit, look to the left again at your Lightning 3 swings. Like that. And you'll want to take some coin at that. You know, for instance, if you want to go ahead and take some coin off the table, then let them just tag that target. Okay. Let's see, the Object Trader Dome, is that only available to full-time members? No. Dave, on your question, on your trial, you got that. Yeah, this is a cool little tool, by the way. I love this tool. All right, let's see if we can get up here to this 33. Now remember our stops down it. See how Lightning is doing on here? See how this is not identified just yet? When does it become identified? We'll find out. When it closes above that swings when I identify it. There it is. So could you actually put your stop there now? See how identified works? If you need to draw it on your charts for a while, just go ahead and draw it. Because let's draw Lightning 2. All right, identified swings right here on Lightning 2, and identified swing on Lightning 3, or 1 is right here. See it? See how you have a high swing, low swing, high swing? That's identified. So could we ride this trade for the gusto from here? Yes. Now, can it stop us out? Yes, it can. But with our identified swings, we're counting on it not doing it, because what's the definition of an uptrend? We're getting higher lows and higher highs, right? Now, that's on the left side of the chart. This is left, looking left to trade the right. That's where the move started, ABC. It can't take this out if we're going to head back up. Okay, now what if it makes a new swing right here? And it could do it. Okay, we're going to watch it and see if it does. But our stop's right under here for right now. Everybody see why? Because we're looking to the left to trade the right. High, low, higher, high. Identified swing. When does this swing become identified? When it takes us out over here. Now, when does this swing become identified? When it takes us out over here. So see, this is actually a swing that's trying to identify on the left. Not yet. You're kind of double topping so far. And now where's your swing trying to identify? Right there. See, so you can, each time it does that, take that stop up there, or we've got a tool on Object Trader that you can actually put on the chart to keep in the trade. I'll show you what that is. Let me slow this down for just a minute. All right, we have a trail stop called Lightning, and let's draw Lightning, well, 2 would be okay. Let's see where 2 draws. We'll hit our space bar. Lightning 2 is right there. Okay, now if I want to put my trail stop there, and let's say I want to go ahead and fade it a couple of ticks, and then I just engage my trail. All right, then as lightning starts stair-stepping up, this trail stop will follow it because it's looking at the left side of the chart for your trail stop. Okay, so I could move this out of the way, or with Object Trader, I can turn off my target. Now I no longer have a target at the broker, I'm just in a free trade. Okay, but I've got my stop in with lightning looking to the left to trade the right. Do you treat the lightning the same when it's in a range balance area? Well, you're still looking at lightning, Brandon, but you're looking more at support and resistance. Okay, and we trade a little bit different on that. You know, when it's in a range, anywhere around 20, 25 ticks, we're range trading. Okay, you like to have a little above 25 for a good range, but you can trade smaller than that and try to get, you know, at least 10 ticks. Everybody see what I'm talking about by looking to the left to trade the right? See your high, your low, higher high. This is doing exactly what this is doing right here. See there? How do you activate lightning, John, on your question? Lightning is a tool that's in our scripts, and you just simply go to the hotkey for the particular lightning and go to your indicators and you'll see it. Just go to lightning 1, okay? Lightning 1 is the Alt key, okay? And you just simply hold the Alt key down and left click your mouse at a swing. All right, Lightning 2 is the Shift key and you do the same thing. Lightning 3 is the Control key and you do the same thing, but you want to be more onto the larger swings on Lightning 3. Okay, so for instance, to activate that, just messed up. No, we're okay. I did not want to do that. I wanted to go ahead and close it rather than, you know, changing a template on a chart while it's live. And by the way, if you ever accidentally mess up and your order goes away on Object Trader, always check your positions with your broker, because just because, you know, let's say that you were looking at like ES and you forgot you had Object Trader on, I'm not going to do it. But if you turned ES on this chart, you would no longer have a trade on the chart, but it's still with your broker. Lightning, the reason we didn't automatically plot it, Lisa, is because you don't want all those zigzags on your chart all the time. You know, I like to kind of make them come and go. Okay. But you can plot them all the time if you want. Look here, I'll just start Lightning 2 down here and it'll keep plotting it. You know, we'll just let it keep drawing. Now you can change the color of this too, because you notice that's green. It's a little bit hard for you to see. Okay. But that is plotting lightning right there. And our trail stop will also draw with lightning. Now, notice that my trail stop I've actually got, so you can see it, I just hit the space bar. Okay. And that's in our little book on how to do that. Let's see what this actually did. I'm curious. I wasn't up at 4 o'clock in the morning, but see how the trail stop just went up? Lightning identified. May come identified. It always looks to the left. See how my lightning's staying down below here? Because lightning 2, there it goes just now. See, this is a little bit more forgiving on the trail stop than just the lightning swings. It's looking a little bit deeper at the swing. Let's see if this holds. We've got our stop in. Now, if you'd have gotten up in the middle of the night and you saw this trade like we talked about in real time, could you be nicely green and say, you know what? You're done. Well, my wife hit hers this morning at 7:40. She just decided that was good enough for the day. Because if you hold this stop all the way down here, you're going to give up, you know, like 24 ticks or better, 26 ticks. Now, could it just keep on trucking up? It probably will. But that's what you call holding a gusto trade. You're going to always give some of it back. Okay? But looking to the left to trade the right, you have a high, low, higher, high. This is the left side of the chart. This is the right side. High, low, lower, high. Same low, looks like it's going to still bounce. Okay, and there you go, and it just popped up again. Okay, does anybody have any questions so far on looking to the left to trade the right? Because you're going to find this time and time again, and keep in mind that you're looking at 3 trends. Okay, for instance, I could tell you this, that more than likely, if they break this support right here, I always like to look, both ways. If they decided to break this, that's my primary lightning 3. This is another swing right down below. I have not had a phantom trade. Oh, after you've turned it on, Frank, what you do is just simply hold the Alt key down, left click. That'll get rid of lightning 1. Shift key will get rid of lightning 2. Okay? You can always make it disappear. It's just a toggle switch is what it is. Okay? Now, anybody want to learn a little bit about a deep retracement trade tonight? Because a deep retracement trade, keep in mind, as long as this is heading up, we're not really looking for a deep retracement trade, but we're thinking of a trade down the road that more than likely will be a deep retracement trade, and we call that our phantom. Okay? And the phantom trade is a really, really good trade. Let's just let this play out and see what happens. We'll just take our stop off if it happens to hit it. I'll fast forward it. It got us, okay? Now, here's a little what we call a mid-band type trade. What do y'all think? Let's say you got up at 6 o'clock in the morning and you said, you know what? This looks pretty good to me. Let's just try to go for 10 ticks just for the fun of it. 10 ticks. And let's just do 3, but just go for 10 just for the fun of it. Let's see if it does it. That's okay, we're in. Put our stop just underneath that swing right there. That's lightning. If it pops this swing, we'll bring it up higher because this will be lightning identified. Let me get rid of the trail stop. We don't need that anymore. All right, this is not identified, but look to the left. That is identified. See it? So, on the left side of the screen, that's your identified swing. Could you simply put your stop just underneath it, just in case? Yes, because they're always looking left to trade the right, like a big old ABC type move. All right, this is getting a higher low so far, and we just took a trade with 3 contracts, and we're just trying to get 10 ticks. Let's see if it works. I'm pretty sure this did because I actually traded this morning. Identified swing, right? See it? And there you go. Just got yourself 300 bucks. Okay? Now, always remember that when, for instance, remember this one down here did not work right over here. Remember that one? So always be ready just in case they don't, because, the thing is, when you get a pullback, they could just be doing a 61% retracement on this move. And I'll bet you that that's a 61% retracement. I can just see that without, just pretty good at looking at it. Let's see here. Yeah, 61.8. Actually, it wicked 76, but it held body at 61. See that? That's a 61% retracement. So when you got in this trade, you've always got to look and see, are they going to continue up, or are they going to hit 61 and roll over, which is what they did here. Could this have still been a decent trade? For instance, if you did like, say, a couple of contracts and you get up a little bit, don't let them take it back from you. If you get up $150 and you want to keep 150 bucks, hit the close button. Because they don't always go to the moon. And if they start chopping around and everything, you got to be careful because then you'll get these deeper retracements. And you've always got to remember that they're looking for deeper retracements. The hard part's knowing to get out. That's true. We all face that. There's no question about that. Because we all want this trend right here. and you don't always get this trend right here. You know, for instance, we got a really good trade just a minute ago. Now, with this double top, do you think this swing will hold right here? I don't. Why do I think it won't? Because it double topped. But your identified swing is right over here, looking to the left to trade the right. Okay. And you do still have a phantom type trade that needs to set up very possibly right in there. Everybody see that? Let's see if it did it just for the fun of it. I'll fast forward it. What trade is that, everyone? That's a phantom trade. Phantom trade, I'll usually put my stop just inside the shadow. Say I'm only risking 10. Then I'm going to even tighten it up a little bit more. Exit on close. That's a phantom trade, exactly right. Now, if it hits its head at resistance, it could actually very possibly change directions too. Okay? So you always look at resistance. You know, for instance, we're only going for 10 ticks anyway. So if it hits resistance, we're going to be in the money anyway. All right, you could tighten it again. Now, it hadn't identified another swing, but, you know, when you're in the money like this, you can always take, you know, a couple of them off and then just write a runner like at cost. See, that way you protect your coin. Okay, you don't have to try to get the full 10 ticks out of all three. You can just take green. Okay, now this could go ahead and run. We could go ahead and say, you know what, let's just let this puppy run. But if it hits its head at this resistance, I'm going to kill it if it turns over. Why would I do that? Because I'm looking to the left to trade the right, and that's resistance right there that's pretty strong. We don't know if it's going to go through it as of yet. There's a good point right there. Gene says you never go broke taking profits. Yeah, because what the thing is with a lot of times what people do, you know, they'll have a day like this going, and then they'll keep trading, and they'll make, you know, some not so good moves, and then they'll get it down to 9, and then they think, wow, I was up at 12, I got to get it back, and then they're down at 6, and they say, oh crud, I'm down 600 from where I was, and then they keep trading until they give it all back, and then at the end of the day they go, why did I do that? You know, we've all done it. You know, we'd be liars if we said we didn't, because I've done it. You know, it's just the nature that's in all of us, and we got to fight that beast, because that beast will eat your lunch and give it all back. Exactly right. So let's see if it hits resistance, and if it, like I said, if it tries to roll at resistance, I'm going to kill it. Because this could easily start heading down, but it's not a downtrend yet. Everyone sees that, right? It's not a downtrend yet. Okay, so now let me ask you another quick question. Let's fast forward this. I'm going to do a scenario, and I'm going to see if everybody can catch this. Let's go ahead and I'll just kill this trade. It doesn't matter, but I've got it paused for just a minute. I'm going to fast forward this and get you to some trades that I actually called in the room this morning. Remember this, anybody, right here this morning? And I even said to everybody, I said, don't fall for the short. You could have gotten a quick short. We even talked about taking it. You know, matter of fact, you could have taken it under 82. You could have taken under this 69 even, right? When it rolled over at predictor. But I also said that I've got a real good eye for seeing fib numbers. And this particular little move was thrust, retrace. Train your eye to see this, and even without fibs if you can, because I said that was a 38% retracement, and it was on the money. Okay, so when you're in an uptrend and they barely change trends, always make sure you look at, you know, what's going on with the fib, because in a move like this, a 38% retracement is usually pretty good. You know, they could have come down to 50, and you could take a rollover, absolutely. You know, did this little trade work? Well, you're too late if you didn't take it already, because it just rolled it at predictor. So I wouldn't chase this now. But remember what we actually talked about instead? said if this takes out that swing right there, you could actually go long, and we actually did in the room. Could you use our tools to take that trade? We've got a tool on here called wedge, and see this little thrust retrace? Could you draw a trend line on this chart and be ready to take the trade if it just happened to touch above that? And the answer is yes, because we were expecting it to bounce off a 38% retracement. Always look at all four of your trends. Just because they take out support a little bit, was this an identified swing? Anybody? No, because see, it didn't take out the top. How do you turn on wedge to take the trade, Gene? You just simply you use a ray line with NinjaTrader. You then use the top of it is what we call the top of the line itself. So if it actually touches +2 through that line, it will fire 2 contracts. Is the way that would work. Now you could also use the box. I'll just use the wedge for a minute and I'll show you. Let's just do touch +1. This can all be done on the fly too. It's pretty cool. Now, could you have also gotten ready to take this trade if they decided to break it down? What do you think? Yeah, do another wedge. You know, like let's say, for instance, you said, you know what? If this breaks down below here, I'm going to take it either way. Could you do that? Yeah. That would be a short touch through the bottom, and that would be a short touch through the top. You could use the auto wedge indicator, Gene. I don't really use that in the room because it's, you know, kind of noisy as far as that goes. But you could see how that just did the trade right there. That's a pretty cool little tool, that wedge trader. I use it a lot. I like it a lot. All right, let's look at this trade, everyone. What do you think? Where is lightning identified swing? Just by what I've taught. What says the team? All right, let's look. Well, it went straight up, so you don't have an identified swing until it takes out this swing here. So in a case like that, when I see that, I see support right down here. So since I got in here, I'd probably put my stop right in through here. See, because we don't have a swing, this is straight up. When you have that, they could come down and check that. Okay, now if you've already taken a target, you can go ahead and hold your runner until it does. All right, now if this does pop this top, this is going to be our new swing right here. Everybody sees that, right? If it takes this out, lightning will be right here if it takes that out. Let's draw it and see if it does it in real time. Okay, you got a swing here, but it's not identified. Is it identified yet? Anybody? Is that identified yet? No. And see, looking to the left to trade the right. Now, we're looking to the left. We're also looking to the right. And we're looking to see if we can get an identified swing. If this gets an identified swing, we're going to bring that stop all the way under here. Now, when they're trying to push this bar like this, I usually do go ahead and bring my stop up to like mid-band because I'm kind of thinking that they're going to break it because they're pushing. You see what I mean? And that's an identified swing now. I don't know why everybody doesn't trade this particular way, because if you use, you know, get in these trades at the spots we teach and use the identified swings, and you can even use your trail stop. You know, we've got a trail stop at mid-band even. You can simply turn this on to line 4, trail stop engage, and it's right there. If you want to use lightning instead, you can use the lightning. That's your lightning right here. You hit your space bar. It's right under there at -2, so you just simply hit trail engaged. That's right under there. Okay? And this will actually allow you to stay in the trade until it takes out lightning 2. Okay, see how it's trying to check it, high or low. See there? Where's your identified swing? It's trying to be right here, but this is a little more liberal on its. Let's see if it goes up. I'd probably put my stop right under here. I'd go swing strength 1 instead. Whoop. Swing strength 1 and bring my stop up in there. Is that swing strength 1? Yeah. Now, I'm usually, if I see this, I turn this off and move my stop manually because I see a lightning 3 now. See it right there? It just formed a lightning 3. And you can always protect that trade, especially if they start going sideways. You know, is that identified yet? Not quite, but it didn't close above the swing. But let's see if it gets us at all. It got us. All right. Everybody see how you can do that? This is absolutely a pretty cool way to trade. Now, does anybody see very possibly a trade on this chart just by what we taught right here? Because I'm pretty sure I called this trade in the room this morning. If you wanted that trade, like right there at mid-band, put your stop just under the swing. Okay, we called that in the room, remember? High, low, higher, high. Higher, low, barely higher, high. That's our identified swing to our secondary. This is our primary. That's our secondary. That should hold on any kind of a thrust and a pullback. You'll find that they do, it's weird, they do this all the time. When they break up, A, B, C, and then they'll kind of pull back. If they take out micro, you get out of the trade. They respect your swing on your A, you know, that's your A, B, C. You jump back in. That's a higher low. I called it this morning in the room. Could it have taken us out? Yes. But it didn't. You know, it happened to be a decent trade, if I remember right, at least for 10 ticks. Everybody seeing a little bit more how you can see looking to the left to trade the right? Now, I can also tell you this, that you're always going to be looking for a mid-band trade. And if they don't take out the highs, you're going to be looking for a phantom trade. Okay, so let's watch this and see what it did. I'll tell you what it's going to do by just what it does do. Okay, we got our target. Let's get rid of our trail stop. We don't need it anymore. I'll go ahead and put my trail stop at break even. That looks like a lower high. Not yet. Yep, stopped us out. Now, what do you say on this trade? Anybody? High, low, lower high. This is more than likely going to be a phantom trade. Okay, so you want to be careful. You take the first trade after it thrusts up and pulls back into mid-band, but if it doesn't take out this high over here to the left, this is not your identified swing on lightning 3. Let me show you what I'm talking about. See this high, this low, this lower high? This is what you've actually got right now. You got a pullback, you got a retrace, or tried to thrust again, but it couldn't. And then you've got this. All right, what is that doing right now, anybody? You got higher lows and lower highs. Everybody see that? So we're looking for, hopefully, a phantom type trade, okay? And you just simply wait for the trade. Now, I would be looking for this trade if it does decide to take this out and come back and kiss it, okay? Because then it might take this out. But anytime you get a lower high after a mid-band doesn't work out, you're more than likely going to get this little sweet trade right here. Right in that little sweet spot right there. The swings are auto plot. Yeah, they automatically plot as they're now I drew these manually, but yeah, you can auto draw them. They just automatically keep up with those swings. They get your chart a little bit noisy though. I don't personally like it. Now, could you have taken this trade again? I missed it because we were talking, but that was a 10-tick trade. You know, if you, for instance, remember we boxed this in just a few minutes ago. Could you take that same box? Yes. And that was a 10-tick trade. Okay. But you got to be careful if they don't take out these highs because they will come down to phantom if they don't. See, that's the same high again. Does anybody remember this trade? I called this in the room this morning. This is a phantom trade setup. And the thing you got to be careful of is you don't want to be short in this trade yet, unless you're a scalper. You know, if you saw that double top and you want to scalp it, yeah, you can. But what people miss is usually getting like an 8 or 10 tick trade when this is really going to be more than likely a phantom trade that'll go to the moon. Okay? And we actually called this trade in the room, and if it closed above line 2, you just get ready for the buy if it closes the bar up and puts you a stop just underneath the box. You could also turn on bar close, like so, or you could box it in. See our little box right here? You can just wait for it to break that box and then hit the market order if you want to. Everybody remember that little trade in the room this morning? Now let's go with this little trade. I'm going to get these out of the way for just a minute, and we're almost going to wrap because we're 5 minutes over. Is this an identified swing? Yes. Okay. If there's a couple of ticks under, you can always lag it back. But remember, you're going to give up some of your trade if you do that. So is this now, an identified swing here? And when it does something like this, I usually look to the left, and I'd pretty much say it probably wouldn't take out this swing right here. See to the left here? And that is not identified just yet, right here. That was close. It's going to identify. You can always tell if they try to get a few bars, you can go a little bit early on your identification. See, that's identified now. See how you can get really good at making sure that you stay with the trade on what we call identified swings? Everybody? Now, also always be prepared to know that if they decide to break, you got to know where they're going to break. Okay? So when I look to the left to trade the right, I see, they've barely taken out this swing over here. No, they haven't even taken this swing out over here yet. Okay? So if they were to break this area right through here, they could even change trends as of right now. If they even broke here, they could be changing trends. See your thrust, retrace thrust? If they broke here, they could be changing trends. So you've always got to look at all three of your trends as you're trading, and you're going to be amazed at how good you can do, because in the room this morning, this little trade was called. Remember it? We got 15, 20 ticks on it. This little trade was called. We got a monster trade on it. This little trade was called. We got at least 10 or 15 ticks, and this trade was called. And this is just showing you how we would trade it, but these calls were called in the room live. Okay? Which swings do I consider, Jay? Well, what you got to do, remember, there are 3 trends on your chart. Okay? When you're trading, for the gusto, you're really more looking at these minor trends. Okay? See this thrust retrace? It's kind of holding this little area. Usually what I'll do is I'll look to the left and I'll pull it down one more if it's close enough, like that right there. Okay? Because see, this is an identified swing, and this one's not really identified very much just yet. Now, if it blows up through here, then this will be an identified swing. You see what I'm talking about there? Really important that you get that, because it's, see how it held that swing right there? See how I'm staying in this trade with 2? It held that swing. This one wasn't identified yet. Now, is this going to become our identified swing? What do you think? Probably. Matter of fact, it is. See there? That is our identified swing now. You always got to look to the left to trade the right. And if they haven't identified the area yet, they're going to break it a little bit, but they'll always hold the next one unless they're through. And if they're through, you got to wait for deeper retracements. Okay? And that's actually literally the way you trade, looking to the left to trade the right. And I've done this webinar many, many times, and it really does work, because again, called this trade in the room, this trade in the room, this trade in the room, and that trade in the room. And if you happen to have gotten those trades alone, you had a monster day on CL. Okay, is this an identified swing right here? So your high, your low, your higher high? Yes. And we've already checked this one, so we don't need to check it again. Now, is this getting to be identified? Not yet. Identified? Not identified yet here. Now it's actually going the other way. See your high, your low, your lower high. That's going to take us. If this doesn't hold right there, we're out. Everybody see that? Identified swings on the left. Now, is this going to probably go again? Well, draw on your charts. That's the left side. That's a high, low, higher, high. So they should not come down that low. Look to the left and see if you see another swing close to that. And I see one more right across there. And I see one more right across here. Looking left to trade the right. So what says the team? It's too late. Let's take it anyway. Let's see if we can get 10 ticks. Put our stop right underneath there because I don't trust this one as much. But it came right where I thought it would, so I grabbed it. I just grabbed it late. Everybody see that? Works out pretty good. And of course you could ride your runner with your identified swing as soon as it identifies itself. There it is. Everybody see that? And we got the tool to actually, move this stop automatically if you want to. Okay, that's looking left to trade the right in a nutshell with Lightning 1 and 2, and also looking at Lightning 3. Where would this trade break if it was going to break later on? Because if anybody remembers, oil actually broke after we closed the room down. Where would it break? And then we're going to wrap because I am running over. But draw on your charts and you'll see. Lightning 3 is right here. Lightning 3 is right there. If they break those, are they heading up any longer? Watch and see what happened after we close the room. Bazinga. It's going to head down. That just kissed resistance. You could have shorted it. See there? Always got to look at these Lightning 3s, because if Lightning 3, see your high, your low, your higher high, like an ABC type move, ABC, it takes it out, and what does it do? It changes trend directions. And you'll see that time and time again, and we've even got an alert on here that'll tell you it's changing. It's called potential short trend. And it didn't do it very long, but it did do it when it broke. Okay? And by the way, if it took out resistance again, go long. Because all this did was a deep retracement. Now you look at your other trend and you see that you had a high, low, big old ABC type move, and that's a higher low. So more than likely they took this puppy back up. Or no, this is a phantom. That's a phantom trade. I would have shorted it. I showed you the first phantom. We'll go over the other one in the room in the morning because I'm running really late. But that is a phantom to the short side right there. This little trade right here you want to train yourself to see. That's a phantom short when the background changes, the mid-band changes, and you go in that little sweet spot from 6 to 7. And that was definitely a good short trade. All right. Thanks everybody for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. And, this video will be posted. And I hope this helps everybody out a lot, because it's basically learning to look to the left to trade the right and use price action and our indicators to tell what way to look. Okay? And again, we called those trades. So several of our people said, nicely green, turn off the machine. And that's what we do. All right. Thanks, everyone. See you in the morning. Bye now. Yeah, Linda is here, so she'll be getting those scripts to you. You did go ahead and join the trial, right? Okay, yeah, she'll be sending those to you then, no problem. And I gave her your machine ID already, so she'll get those scripts to you. And I'll get them on in the morning after the room closes. Tonight's going to be a little bit late, but I'll get them on in the morning. All right, thanks everyone.